Okay, what I want to do next is yesterday on that last video, we were fixing to go ahead and build this all out. But I realized after the fact that I made a mistake. The code, you see how our form name is called FRM, that's from the prefix that's in the configuration file, ship components, but I called the class component. He really, and I do mean really, wants this, ship components, and this will be ship components. Those should stay linked. I mean, blow the FRM stuff off. But prefixes, these names really should be linked. As you can tell, I don't force that in the code, but you'll have some pieces of the code rely on the name, and for other reasons, other pieces rely on the object names. It all has to do with what's available at the time. So those two should stay linked. So I'm going to make that change and then we can save this. And now, proceeding on, we will, next thing we will do is build our database code. Now, we can come into here and do a Control-A, Control-C. You can use buttons and do edit, select all, edit, copy. I always use codes. So we can close that. We're done. Now I'm going to come over here and let's see. Let's come up here to some project. Let's see. That was yesterday's and I ran into all kind of trouble. Okay, so some project is now back to nothing. We will come over here and I will paste our create code in, and this is creating ship components as our database table. So we execute that, and now we have our ships component table. I can go look at the design, and there he is. We're all happy. Next thing I will do is build the model code. This is the actual database class that reads and writes from the table. And Andy does a lot more, but if you notice, we're at 429 lines of code generated for you. We will save him, and then we will create the view code. And we will build this and export him as well. So now let's go look at our project. We're done with ClassBuilder at the moment. So let's come over and say open our project folder. And we have an awful lot of files here now. Now you're actually starting to think, well, maybe we should put some folders in here and divide this up to where it makes a little more logical sense. So I want to go through the files we generated. So first one, let's go with ship components. We'll double click him so he pops up back here. And I will double click the view code. So I'm going to go ahead and close that for the moment. And we can come in here and say add to project and add to project. Now let's go back to our primary main code sheet, and you'll see I have commented out all of our previous code. Okay, because we don't need any of that anymore. We don't eat well. No, we don't even need this. Okay, so this is a ship component, right? And this is you're good. You're the one that's changed. Okay. All right. So now the placement of these is very specific, and I need to point that out. That your model code, this is the code that reads and writes to the table, has to be loaded before you get to the form that uses that code. Okay. Likewise, before this can be loaded, we need the Some Project Windows to be loaded as well. So, additionally, if you're really spying me out, you'll see we've added 2 more files to the project. And this was a bug that I discovered last night after I cut that last video. I noticed that in my haste to cull the minimalistic footprint of ClassBuilder, I cut it originally down to just DB and DB type. There really is 2 other classes that are required by ClassBuilder. Okay, so ListIconHelper, both of these, by the way, if you're looking for them in a normal folder structure, these are include files. ListIconHelper is a utility that I wrote that handles the justification of columns on list icons. It can help you set column widths. You can set your column widths on a list icon by percentage and stuff like that. So he's just there because when you build a list icon, which you'll get to seeing in a minute, in your components, he right, left, just center justifies based on what you configured in ClassBuilder. The second piece that I added is static. And most everybody I know of has some sort of static list of functions that they use, that they call. It's one of those things, I call it static because it doesn't change application to application. I pick it up and throw it in. Okay, now my static has a whole bunch of functions, and it has a requirement for you. So we're going to open up static here, and let's go ahead and collapse everything. Okay, so we'll come up here and static, which we will, I alluded to possibly needing this when we were looking at DB and placement of the database, where possibly we need to fully path it. And part of that was my thinking back to this. In ClassBuilder, I have things like, let's come in here and we will change, what's our name of this? This is some new project. Some new project. This is where all the static data for the project resides. I have a function called getAppName. That's what's used whenever I present a message box to the screen. The title comes from right here. I call this function to get the application name, so every message that I present to the user carries with it that, hey, I'm talking about this application separate from any other on your screen, so you know where the message comes from. And it all comes from one place, and you're shrinking your footprint of your app by making that a single call. Now, also in here is a documents path and a program data path, these are set because I use those too. At some point early on in your app, if you call get paths, he will go ahead and set your help path and document path, and he'll set all this stuff up however you want it to be set up. Here's where you come in this static. Sometimes, like now, we do not want to use combo box EX and list EX. If you remember, those were configuration of ClassBuilder checkboxes. Well, I have a whole series of functions here that there's 2 copies of them. I keep them separated by the EX versions, have an EX on the added name down here. But this application that we're playing with does not use either combo box EX, nor does it use list EX. So there's 5 functions. This does a generic select the first item in a list, and that's a list icon. You can select ID first list, which selects the matching ID that you passed in, and if it's not there, he'll select the first record. And then we have first select combo box, the first select combo, and then we have select the combo based on the string content, and then we have select ID first combo. So this is when you have a record that comes out of the database and somebody's already saved in a value for that combo box, you call this guy, so he goes and finds it. If he doesn't find it, he selects the first record. So those are the same ones down here, only with an EX, but we're not using combo box EX. So these are all kick out as errors if we don't comment them out. So if you never use them, great. Just always comment this out and you're good to go. My code that is generated will use these functions, okay? And if you have combo box EX and list EX, he'll use these functions down here. Now, there's a whole lot of other stuff in here. Things like freeing an image. It's always a whole series of commands to free an image. You have to check to see if it is an image, then you can free it. Well, I like to convert that down to just one line call. Okay, free sprite, same thing. Converting images, flipping them, resizing them, yada, yada, yada. We don't need to get into all of this. You can send a recycle. I've got a big recursive folder look for the files and such, but that's kind of all out of scope for this project. So go ahead and we'll go ahead and save whatever changes I made. I don't know what I made. And we'll come back here and let's go ahead and see if this just off the bat will run for us. And what did we do? I see what we did. We missed the S on the end. And that would mean that I probably missed the S on the name on this guy. So my goal in the generation of code was that, component set screen. He's no longer called that. All right, so you're probably saying, what on earth is that? Okay, let's go look at our view code real quick. The view code here initially has a, hey, present the screen. That's what that was. If we come back here and throw him in, so we don't have a main screen, we don't have all kinds of stuff here. So we call that function, and lo and behold, we should get our lovely screen popped up with not having to have to do a whole lot of coding so far. So I believe that's probably going to be the end of this video. I will pick back up on the next one right here where we left off, okay?